So tonight we have before you two candidates for our district or zone or whatever you refer to it as of Monterey Peninsula College Board of Trustees. We have incumbent Dr. Margaret-Anne Coppernoll. Dr. Coppernoll is a doctorate from USC and master's from the Fletcher School at Tufts. Licence et lettres from the Université de Montpellier, France. Has been a Regents Fellow at UCLA. She's taught K through 12 and has been an assistant professor at West Point and Georgetown. She graduated from the Armed Forces Staff College, was an Army War College Fellow, and retired as a colonel. She's a 2010 graduate of Leadership Monterey Peninsula. She served as our MPC trustee since 2009. She's also served on the County Mental Health Commission, Marina Economic Development Commission, and the Water Conservation Commission of the Marine Coast Water District. Yuri has a master's in educational administration from NYU and a bachelor's degree in political science and education from USC. She's served in leadership roles in nonprofit and government organizations in Monterey County, New York City, and San Francisco. She's currently the policy advisor for County Supervisor Mary Adams. Yuri focuses on health and human services, education, economic and workforce development, housing, and regional transportation. She previously worked 6 years for United Way of Monterey County as Director of Community Impact and later Vice President for Community Investments. She was the principal architect of the Impact Monterey County study, which resulted in a shift of investments to the areas of early childhood and housing. So thank you very much for coming. And we have to do the old coin toss. We'll see if I can possibly do this correctly. We'll let the incumbent, are you going to call heads or tails? Heads it is. Would you like to go first or second? Okay, very good. And we'll give you the first question.
No.
First question and introduction.
I'm sorry, opening statements. Yes, thank you. 2 minutes for opening statements.
Hope you can you hear me?
No.
You can point the mic down.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Keep going.
There you go. There you go.
Now better. Okay, thank you. Since I've been a trustee representing Marina, the college has responded quickly and efficiently to balance the budget, hire new faculty, approve tenure, strengthen student support, and greatly expand programs and services at the Marina Education Center. During my first year as trustee, I wanted to find ways to improve education opportunities for our community, to increase the number of residents with a college education, and to establish scholarships for graduating high school seniors. Scholarships that were then non-existent, but now are well endowed. At that time, only 25% of our residents had a college degree, compared to 52% for other peninsula cities. That statistic has optimistically changed. Significantly, Marina High School is an award-winning partner with MPC in offering college education to high school students. Quality education strengthens our democracy and economic prosperity. It increases hope and life success. These inspirational programs require quality, dedicated faculty. I have taken many classes at MPC prior to becoming a trustee, so I can attest to the fact that MPC has a top-notch faculty, second to none. MPC is steady at the helm, producing a qualified workforce. Financial support for students has increased by 96% in 5 years, making access and equity for low-income, diverse populations an exciting reality. The major goal is to increase funding for our part-time and full-time faculty through improved economic conditions while maintaining accreditation status and a balanced budget. Top priority is preserving faculty jobs and their no-cost health benefits package. Together we will succeed.
Ms. Anderson, 2-minute opening statement.
Oh, sorry, that's okay.
Good evening. I want to thank the Marina Democratic Club for inviting both of us here this evening. This opportunity to share with you and all of you for taking the time to come and listen to the different candidates who are seeking to represent you in Marina. One of the things that Tom cut out of my bio is that I'm a wife and I'm a mother. I have 2 young children. My son is 5 and my daughter is 3. And as I look at those two children and the many young people that we have living in Marina, and heard about some of the challenges that MPC is facing, I was compelled to step forward and to represent our city on the Board of Trustees. We have a real opportunity with MPC to make sure that the diverse and more economically challenged population of Marina is well represented at our college. The college needs to respond and be ready for our kids. And we'll talk about it coming up in the performance-based funding formula. If students from Marina do not see MPC as a viable option for them, then the college will not be successful. And I had a little flub and almost at Hartnell because I think we all hear on the radio and on the TV about the way that Hartnell is just booming and welcoming its diverse students, and that's what I see for MPC as well. We want to make sure that the students in our community feel that this is the place that is best there to serve them. Another thing about my background that was not included is I serve as a founding partner for the Bright Futures of Monterey County, which is an initiative that was spearheaded out of CSUMB that's really looking at increasing opportunities from birth to career for our students. And this is one of the things that has led me to step forward to serve for MPC as well. We have a lot of students in our community who, if we don't make real changes, will not complete the educational pathway. And so I look forward to talking with you more.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first question will go to Ms. Anderson. Why do you think MPC had accreditation issues in recent years? And as trustee, what will you do to make sure in the future the college is well managed?
Oh, Anderson, sorry.
Sorry.
Well, so my background at United Way and before involved a lot of government contract acquisition and management. And so as I look at the issue of accreditation, I really see it as a lack of leadership and a lack of oversight. I think that there are standards to which the college is held accountable for ensuring that it remains accredited, and those were just not managed. The board was not paying attention. And it's a really critical issue because if you don't understand accreditation, what you don't know is that our students were at risk of not being eligible to receive any financial aid, state or federal. They were at risk of their classes not transferring to other colleges, which means that the degrees that they would have been earning from MPC would not have been worth the money they spent on them. So accreditation is a critical issue. It is something that the Board of Trustees should be managing and looking at on a regular basis. 22 standards were found to be deficient. And if you put in a simple process of ongoing management, you know that every 6 years you're going to be having the accrediting body come forward. You have 35 standards. It's simple math to say we're going to look at these standards on a regular basis, see how we're doing, and course correcting, engage in continuous improvement.
20 more seconds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 20 more seconds. But so I think as trustee, that's one of the things, the way that I would approach the work. We know that we need to retain accreditation. Our students are relying on us to do that. And we need to just have a plan, implement the plan, hold ourselves accountable to it, and be continuously engaging in improvement.
Thank you very much. Now, question to Dr. Coppernoll. Why do you think MPC had accreditation issues in recent years? And as trustee, what will you do to make sure in the future the college is well managed?
Well, I know why there were accreditation issues in the past. Past accreditation presenting teams failed to do a thorough job, I think, in my opinion. I agree with what Ms. Anderson has just said about accountability. They just came in and gave us a pass, or gave MPC a pass, and the past administration and the past boards were not cognizant of the depth of the problems. They didn't come to light until the City College of San Francisco failed and new stringent, very stringent accreditation standards were put in place that we had to face, that were not faced before by previous boards or administrations. We were facing a severe 33% budget cut, and on top of that we had repeatability regulations moratorium that kept a large part of our constituency from taking classes in MPC that they loved for years. That caused a strategic hiring problem because we were focused on classes that were geared towards our constituency, and now that has changed. We have a waiting list for different classes for a different mission. The mission has changed for MPC. We know we're now required to have more transfers to four-year universities with more completions, and that came about because on a nationwide level, community colleges were not graduating very many graduates. Is that for me, or do I still have time?
No, just as a reminder.
I'm sorry, I heard a bell. Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I heard a bell.
You did. I'm just saying, that when you see, I know I don't want you to have to constantly look over here, but if you see the yellow card, that means you have 20 seconds. You only have a minute and a half for these responses. So you did time.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much.
So
The next question goes to you.
do I have time to finish my question, or did I?
You did.
That was the time.
So, to you, Dr. Coppernoll, as trustee, how do you approach budgeting and establishment?
That was wrong. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be 2.5 minutes, not 1. I apologize. That's my
Oh, joy.
So-
But if you
So,
gave
yes, you
one,
get another minute.
if you gave one a minute, how should
And
the
you
other?
finish the answer to your question.
So to continue the saga, on top of that, the problem that we had was with the budgeting, our curriculum, our whole structure of the college had to be changed to meet the new mission that was given to the college, which was to focus on making sure that students would complete degrees and certificates, that they would be able to transfer to four-year universities. And that was, very important, and we're doing that. But that was part of the accreditation. We had a $1.8 million deficit because of the budget cuts from the state level, which came about by the Great Recession that hit us like a tsunami. We were in a situation where we were like a volcano erupted, we had a tsunami, and then the earthquake shook all the community colleges to their foundations. So yes, we have done a great deal to improve the situation.
So we'll temporarily go back to Ms. Anderson and give her missing minute on the question.
There you go.
Why do you think MPC had accreditation issues in recent years? And as trustee, what will you do to make sure in the future that the colleges will?
I feel like I answered the question.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, and is our clock ready to go? All right,
Yes.
it is. All right, so Dr. Coppernoll, as trustee, how do you approach budgeting and establish priorities for the college?
Well, the priorities are set by the mission. As I said before, we have a new mission, a new focus. Before, we were not required to make sure that students were able to transfer to four-year universities. We are now, and it's a great challenge and a wonderful challenge, great opportunity for our students. We are very much focused on completion rates for degrees, certificates, and transfers. In fact, we have a tremendous increase in graduating certificates, diplomas, and transfers. We had over 800 graduating this year, whereas in 2008 we had 400 and something. I don't remember the exact figures. So we are making great progress. Unfortunately, our lifeline learners are not so happy, but they are still recovering and they're able to take classes at adult education level. But integrated planning is a major way to structure the budget. We have to measure student outcomes. How are they doing in the various classes, the various programs and courses that we have, and measure and evaluate those student learning outcomes, and then budget to support those areas where we have the most success for our students. We also plan outreach to our communities so that we can engage the underserved and underrepresented communities that some might be intimidated by going to college if they're a first generation student. And we have great success with them too, with our Latino communities and with our people of color. We just honored Mr. Mason and his wife Regina for their great work in the community with eco-social diversity difficulties. And so he was honored at the President's Luncheon. So what our objective is to make sure that our budget is geared to student learning outcomes so that we support the students. Right now, in the past, I said we were focusing on,
We have 20 seconds.
we were focusing on the lifelong learners, and that was a drastic change. So but you can't just change and fire tenured faculty or overload it in the fine arts when you need them over in astronomy or sciences where we have a waiting list. So it's strategic hiring is critical.
Thank you very much. So, Ms. Anderson, question back to you. As trustee, how do you approach budgeting and establish priorities for the college?
So in all of my roles, professionals, I've been involved in budgeting for my organization at multiple levels, both at programmatic and across the organization. And so I think obviously you start with the desire to have a balanced budget. What are the resources that we have available to us, and how are we going to expend them in the best way possible? I think you should also have a mind towards savings. Do we have an opportunity to create a strategic reserve that we can use for special projects or in times of challenge? That may be a challenge for MPC at this point, but it would be one of my goals as trustee to have that in mind. Similar to what Dr. Coppernoll was talking about or mentioned, my sort of philosophy to creation of a budget for MPC is really student-centered. What is it that the students that we're trying to serve at MPC need most, and how do we direct resources to doing that? And so one of those is definitely going to be the issue that the college is currently facing related to its contract with the faculty. How do we ensure that we're able to retain and attract high-quality faculty who are going to be offering the classes or teaching the classes that our students are taking? So that's a big budgetary issue to be addressed. In terms of establishing priorities for the college, as Vice President of Community Investment, my job was to engage with community and figure out what were the challenges they were facing, and what are the root causes to those challenges, and how do we direct resources. So my approach is very community-centered. I think first and foremost, as trustee, I need to be engaged in a conversation with you as the residents that I will be representing and the students that are attending MPC. So what is it that you want to accomplish through your college, and how do we direct resources through the budget to make that possible? And then of course, as trustee, you have to consider the inputs that are coming from you from external places. So one of the big things that the college is facing that just happened through this year's state budget is a change in the funding formula. How is it that the college actually receives money? And Dr. Coppernoll mentioned that the budget has been constrained in recent years because of the state mandates that lifelong learning is no longer the directive of the college. So moving forward, about 50% of, let's say $1, 50 cents of the dollar is going to be coming just for enrollments. 25% of that dollar, or 25 cents, is coming for the enrollment of low-income students, and 25 cents is coming for students who graduate or transfer. And so we need to be, as trustees, really looking closely at how are we actually enrolling low-income students and helping students to finish.
So the next question goes to Ms. Anderson. MPC has struggled to generate new student enrollment for a decade and will now face performance funding. How do you think the college can be made more fiscally successful?
So I've already explained what's the new performance funding that's coming. So unfortunately, I can skip that in my 2.5 minutes. But in terms of how can we be more fiscally successful? As I started saying, I think in my opening statement, MPC needs Marina. We need the students from Marina to attend MPC. And I think that how the college message itself to our community is going to be critical in drawing students to enroll, which will help stabilize the financial situation. I think also we all know that we have the beautiful Marina Education Center sitting over there on Engine Parkway. The center is not completed. We have additional land that we can use to grow the space so that students and faculty have more opportunity to use it. And then we also just have an opportunity to increase the number of students that are attending that space. My understanding is that we have approximately 500 to 600 full-time equivalent students who are using the space. If we move it up to 1,000, that's about $1 million of additional revenue that is available to the college by making it a full actual satellite campus. So I think that we should be prioritizing, maximizing that center if the college is looking to stabilize its revenue. And then I do think that we should be exploring options for revenue generation through continuing education. Because the state changed the mandate of community colleges to not be necessarily lifelong centers, to lifelong learning centers, does not mean that we cannot offer continuing education and enrichment courses to people who are interested in doing that. But we need to understand that those courses may cost more to those people, but they may be interested in them, and then that is additional revenue for the college. So I think those are how I would approach some stabilizing.
All right, thank you very much. So Dr. Coppernoll, MPC has struggled to generate new student enrollment for a decade and will now face performance funding. How do you think the college can be more fiscally successful?
Well, I agree with Yuri. We have a gold mine right here in Marina with Marina High School. I am so excited about this program because the reason I wanted to be a trustee in the first place was to increase opportunities for our high school students and for our community to get a college education. And now the AP 288 has come along and provided for early college dual enrollment for our high schools. And I'm so happy to report that Marina High School was the first one to come on board. They have 100% participation now with the freshman class. And so they will be going through the whole program. That will increase our enrollment. The other 4 public high schools on the peninsula are also participating in the program, and that will grow enrollment for students who want to continue to go on to NPC or transfer to four-year universities. So it's a very exciting program. I can't tell, I want to jump up and down, I'm so excited about it. And so that will increase our enrollment. And this is, a pipeline to guided pathways into college and the university beyond. How can we be more fiscally successful? I think that's one way to be fiscally successful. We're growing the Marina Education Center, as I said earlier. We've invested and expanded greatly the services and support for students over there. We're here at the Marina Education Center, so it's exciting, and we want to build out the other phases that are waiting to be developed in Marina. So that's going to be, a much larger campus, a much more exciting campus for our students. The performance funding, well, the official title for it is student-centered funding, and that's very appropriate because it's focused on students, and it's what we've been doing all along, but it's just more tailored, more targeted. If we get the same with the FTES, which is full-time equivalent students funding, but it's going to go down for 3 years from 70 to 65 to 60%, but 20% of the funding is not going to change over those 3 years, will be targeted to low-income students, and then the rest will be targeted at descending percentage for students to finish math and English courses and completion rates so they graduate more quickly.
Thank you, Dr. Coppernoll. So the next question goes to Dr. Coppernoll. What process do you propose for recruiting a new president, and how do you think stakeholders can best be involved?
Well, we want stakeholders to be involved. I mean, we're going to use basically the same process that we used when we hired Dr. Trively. We had a consultant that was specialized in recruiting of presidents and superintendents, and we also have a search team set up by the college. Representatives from each sector of the college will participate in the search team and recommend to the board 3 or 4 candidates. Last time it was 4 candidates that they recommended to us. And I remember asking the question, well, did the search team participants recommend one over the other? No, they'd be happy with any of them. So they were very happy with the candidates they presented to us, and of course our job was then to interview them and evaluate them. And we went to visit the institution where the superintendent president had been employed, and we got rave reviews. And we would go through the same process this time. We will get the stakeholders from the whole campus to give us their evaluation of which candidates they approve of, which ones they want to see as their president. So basically, we ask them, give us your input, and then we respect what you give us, and we'll try to do our best to make the best choice. And that's the process. But we have characteristics that we look for. We look for commitment, passion for education, integrity, courage, vision for the future of the college, and a commitment to do all that person can to make everything better for our students and for our staff and faculty. You can't have great students if you don't have great faculty. Oh, I have more time? Oh.
Yes, you do.
I'm sorry, I'm not doing very well tonight at this time. I'm so sorry. I've been sick for the last 3 days, so I'm not totally on target here. The stakeholders,
20 seconds.
okay. Well, we want to receive the input from our stakeholders and get their professional and personal opinions so that we can evaluate and have the best information available to make a good decision. That's the best that we can do. We hope that we make the best one.
Thank you very much. So we go to Ms. Anderson. What process do you propose for recruiting a new president, and how do you think stakeholders can best be involved?
So I had the opportunity to attend this month's meeting of the Board of Trustees, which actually just happened last Wednesday. So in some ways, if elected, I'll be at a little bit of a disadvantage because the board has actually already approved a process for recruitment of the hiring of the new superintendent president, which is very much what Dr. Coppernoll described, the hiring of a search firm, some engagement with stakeholders, and then a selection by the Board of Trustees. One of the concerns I had with the process that was outlined this past week was just sort of the sequencing of how the information or the input would be received from stakeholders. So it was described that there would be some forums on the campus that would actually, so that characteristics for the new president could be articulated by the student body, potentially was I think a word used, faculty and staff, and that process would be facilitated by someone on campus. Personally, I feel that process should be facilitated by the external search firm or some sort of independent facilitator. There are currently climate issues on the campus, struggles between administration and faculty that I think that if we don't have an independent facilitator, then that process could be viewed as less authentic and potentially challenging. So if I was a trustee, I would push for an external facilitator to be engaged in that process. And I think that the idea of potentially including students should be taken off, the potential should be struck from that, and students should be included in that conversation as well. I think there should be individual groups, meetings, I can't think of the word, focus groups, that's the word, with faculty, with classified staff, with students, all of who have an opportunity to engage. I think there should be a directed conversation amongst the board to articulate what are the goals and priorities and characteristics they're looking for, and those should be communicated with and shared with the MPC community as well. I think as trustee, I would like to engage in a conversation with my community to see what do you think is most important. And as a personal individual, if I were there, I think that equity is a big issue for us. I think we need to ensure that we have a college president that is going to be recognizing how important it is to honor and respect diversity and how that's going to impact the college.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. And the next question goes also to you.
Do we have a chance to reply to that?
No, we do not, unfortunately. So, Ms. Anderson, what do you believe is the role of the board in holding the president accountable?
Well, I don't know that was on the list of the 3 topics you provided to us, but I did do a little preparation before I came tonight. And just, reminding myself, what are the duties of a trustee? And so very broadly, from different accrediting bodies and leadership groups, trustees are supposed to be strategic visionaries who represent the public interest. They're supposed to establish policies to support the mission and create an environment for learning. They're supposed to monitor the effectiveness of the institution and establish standards for the work. And they're supposed to employ, evaluate, and support the college president. So those are the duties that I have raised my hand to do on behalf of our community. As it relates to holding the president accountable, I think that it's really important for the Board of Trustees to articulate its vision for MPC and to work with the college to implement that vision. I've had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Tribally, and he's a wonderful man. I think he's very personable, but as I've observed what's happening at MPC, it seems that the role of vision has been removed from the trustees and placed with the president, and I think that that needs to be right-sided. So in terms of holding accountable, we need to make sure our president understands what the vision is for MPC through its trustees, which is going to be representing the public interest. And I think it's really important that the president work to establish a climate and culture on campus that values and incorporates the voice of all the stakeholders. And that one of the big things I'd be looking is, how do people feel at MPC? Are our faculty feeling supported? Do our students feel like they're being offered the courses that they need to persist? And if we can't answer positively to those things, then we need to be doing some course correction.
All right, thank you very much. So to you, Dr. Coppernoll, what do you believe is the role of the board in holding the president accountable?
Well, the president is the only employee the board has, so that person has to be accountable to the board. And our president has been very much accountable to the board. We had a very extensive report that was sent to the Accreditation Committee that analyzed every recommendation that we had on a very thorough basis, and we received a letter back saying that they thought it was miraculous that our president did such a fantastic job in getting off probation in just 1 year. All the changes that came down the pike to us were not the fault of Dr. Tribally, but the fault of a series of serious circumstances that comprised the terrible situation that all of us were experiencing. When we picked Dr. Tribally, we did have forums. We had forums at the campus for students and faculty and stakeholders to interview the candidates and listen to their presentations and so on. So we did all that. And that's part of being accountable, to present your ideas to the faculty and the staff and administration. But we had a report, a self-study that was very transparent, very honest and candid, that pointed out to the accreditation team the difficulties that we were experiencing. And since that time, we did not have all our programs and courses reviewed and evaluated. Only 25% or less had been evaluated. We completed 100% of evaluation for all our courses, all our programs, updated all our policies, some of which had not been updated for 20 and 30 years. Why didn't the previous accreditation team and administration pick up on that? We had to do all of that work, and it was a huge, intensive situation. So yes, was he accountable? You're darn right. And we wouldn't be where we are right now if it hadn't been for Dr. Tribally's efforts. People don't like the change and the difficulties with the budget, but you know, we need to advocate at the state level with the governor to make sure that he puts education on the top burner, front burner for our students and for our faculty. You know, we can't run a college on volatility. We need to have assurance that we're going to have a good educational system supported.
Thank you, Dr. Coppernoll. Now we go to questions from the public, and on these questions you'll have a minute and a half, and once again you will get a 20-second warning by that yellow card that
I'm trying to wait.
treasurer tries to show.
I'm going to sit on the
My
floor next
peripheral
time.
vision's not working.
It's all right.
So, Dr. Coppernoll, teaching staff has been publicly dissatisfied with working conditions, class selections, and pay standards at MPC. There seems to be strife between the board, management, and teaching staff. Can you explain why?
Could you please repeat that? I missed the first part.
Sure. The assertion is made that teaching staff has been publicly dissatisfied with working conditions, class selections, and pay standards at MPC. There seems to be strife between the board, management, and teaching staff. Can you explain why?
All I can say is you're darn tootin' there is, because it's true. We want very much to increase the salaries. I mean, we have in salary increases in the past, but that doesn't keep up with inflation. You know, they don't help people survive here, you know, in this high cost living area. But our hands are tied. We get the budget from the state. You know, if it's the governor's budget that comes down to us. And that's why I say we need to advocate at the state level to demand that we need support for our education system. Our faculty, they are the ones that make sure that we have student success because they're in the classroom. I know because I've been a teacher and a professor myself. It's very important. And yes, people are not happy because we don't have the funds. We've had to cut back drastically everywhere. And we still have to cut back more with the new funding formula, student-centered funding. We're going to lose another 1.9 million, it's projected. So we're going to have to work very hard to work around that and work with the budget and work with the state. They are looking at it. We have protested and they're looking at it. And they have given us a stability provision for 3 years to help us sort things out. But yes, the faculty, they're absolutely right. We want them to have salary increases. Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much to Ms. Anderson. Teaching staff has been publicly dissatisfied with working conditions, class selections, and pay standards. There seems to be strife between the board, management, and teaching staff. Can you explain why?
Well, I'm at a disadvantage as I am not currently on the board of trustees and so not able to be inside of a lot of those conversations. So like you, I'm going to be getting that information from the media and trusted friends. And what I understand is that the college budget has shrunk, but there have been salary increases and increases in number of administrative staff that is causing strife with the faculty whose contract was written in 2007 and expired more than 5 years ago, and that contract has not been updated or renewed, and there's been changes to the expectations for those faculty, and so there's a disconnect between why are we hiring additional high-level administrative staff and paying them at the highest step on our scale when we're not updating this contract, and then also looking at how are we compensating our faculty, especially in light of comparison salaries at Hartnell and Cabrillo, where faculty can make a decision to travel 15 or 20 minutes and make 15 to 20% more than they're making at MPC. So I think that's my understanding of why there's such a big strife. And then also we're seeing, the courses, some of the courses being cut and streamlined, and that I can't speak too much about in terms of why that might be necessary, but I think it's really important that we think about what courses are being offered and how they're servicing students.
Thank you, and this question goes to Ms. Anderson. What can make ethnic students choose MPC?
Ethnic students. So what can make students choose MPC? The students of Marina. The population that is more diverse in our city than non-ethnics, I guess. But I think that, as I said earlier, messaging is a critical component. Who are the faces that students see when they look at how MPC is putting itself out? What are the voices they hear? What are the courses that are being offered? If I'm a heritage Spanish speaker, which means that I speak Spanish as a native language, and I want to study Spanish at MPC, am I going to be able to take the courses that I need to matriculate to CSU or UC as a Spanish major out of MPC? And a couple years ago, the answer to that question was no, and I don't know that the answer has changed yet because we haven't actually lined up the courses in such a way so the students can make that transfer. So I think those are critical steps to making sure that a diverse population feels welcome there. It's an interesting question because every single person has a different thing that drives them to pursue their education, and to to generalize that one approach could be appropriate for all different ethnic or minority groups would be short-sighted and I think just silly.
Thank you. Dr. Coppernoll, what can make ethnic students choose MPC?
Most of you don't know this, but I'm part American Indian, and I love MPC, and I've taken lots of classes there. I think what attracts anybody, first-generation students, low-income students, we have the most diverse community, I think, in the whole county, maybe in the whole state, I'm not sure. But what attracts students to MPC are several things. One, a good quality education. Two, wonderful counseling and mentoring. Great guided pathways to help them be successful and transfer to four-year universities. And what is really wonderful at MPC are all the ethnic, cultural activities that we have. And at graduation, you wouldn't believe how wonderful and exciting it is to see the Asian cultural show, to see the Kente program to celebrate the African-American culture, and to see the Latino graduation. It is so beautiful that students wear their old sash to show their ethnicity and how proud they are of their heritage. And so, yes, people want to go to MPC because MPC shows the greatest loving care for students. Everybody at MPC, the staff, the faculty, everyone shows that loving care for our students. And that's one of the reasons I love MPC.
All right, thank you. And the next question goes to Dr. Coppernoll. Based on your knowledge of MPC, what do you think can bring to the college, what can you bring to the college to improve the working conditions of faculty?
Well, that's a great question. You're back to the holding the president accountable. I think the president really cares about the college and passionate about it and is doing, his utmost. The working conditions, that's an operational level. But I think, a lot of faculty that I talk to, are happy. They would wish they could get more salary increases, and I want them to have them too. If I could win the lottery tomorrow, I'd donate it all to the salaries of the faculty. That's why I want to increase advocacy. I have a former state public instruction department person who wants to work with me to advocate with the state level to get more funding, investment in community colleges. The whole nation wants to invest more in community colleges because of their great value. They fill the gap between high school and four-year institutions. We give the basic skills training in English and math, and English as a second language if people are struggling and it's not their first language. We help them transfer to four-year universities and get scholarships. We have a great financial aid program. We have the Promise program for low-income people to get free tuition the first year at MPC. So we're doing all we can to increase the enrollment. And as we increase enrollment, we will increase faculty salaries because we'll have more.
Thank you, Dr. Coppernoll. Ms. Anderson, based on your knowledge of MPC, what do you think you can bring to the college to improve the working conditions of faculty?
I think that my general approach to work in terms of collaboration and communication would be a critical skill and approach that I bring as a trustee to the college. Working to improve how administration and faculty are communicating will help improve the situation there, and to make it where we start to work together again, recognizing our faculty as experts in their fields of study who understand how to design curriculum and connect those curriculum across courses so that students are growing in their knowledge and their skills and their understanding and their desire to pursue their chosen course of study, I think is critical. And then using that knowledge that the faculty bring and marrying it with the skills of administration in utilizing resources in the best possible way will improve the situation. As I understand it now, there is little communication between the two groups, and to the extent that we can improve the situation, the college will improve and our students will only benefit. I'm sure there's other things to do, but for me, that I think is the most critical one, is let's start talking to each other and planning together and putting the people that were there to serve the students at the center of every decision and discussion that we're having so that we can make the best decisions possible.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. So now we go to closing statements. These are 1-minute closing statements, and I believe that Ms. Anderson is up first.
Okay. So a couple weeks ago, I had an opportunity to attend the Monterey County Democratic Gala, and since this is Marina Democratic Club, I'll say that I was there. And Supervisor Jane Parker, who has actually endorsed me as a candidate, made comments at that event, and it really stuck with me. She talked about the power of 3. The power of a committed group of advocates who care about an issue, combined with an elected official who has the ability to direct policy, and at least one staff person, and I loved it, she said willing or not, who can come together to create change. And so I think that for me, that's what I hope you would take away, that if elected trustee, I think that we can bring the power of 3 to MPC, and that Marina can really have a strong voice in how that college moves forward. And that I hope that you will vote for me on November 6th because I care about this community very deeply, and I want to see all of us be successful.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Dr. Coppernoll.
Unmistakably, the main issues are related to years of needing to be conservative stewards of the budget. The magnificent employees at MPC have received raises, but I, and we all, urgently want to do more. We need to move forward with our faculty to generate an operational structure that is even more lean, even more efficient, and one that provides even greater opportunities for students and higher raises for faculty. That is and has been my goal. We need to persist in demanding increased state investment in education and reverse the decades-long state decline in funding for K-12 and community colleges. Please support me and MPC in these endeavors. It would be an honor and a joy to continue to serve as your trustee. Thank you, Dr. Tom Moore, Ms. Paula Pillow, and the Marina Democratic Club for this auspicious forum and opportunity to participate in the democratic process. If I have time left, I would just like to say that
Thank you very much, Dr. Coppernoll, Ms. Anderson, for taking your time out to come and speak to folks here at the Marina Democratic Club. We'll have another break while we